Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Now, maybe you're thinking about getting into motorcycling but have heard that it's dangerous to do so, or maybe you've been riding for a while and you're just curious as to what the latest thinking is on how dangerous it is to ride a motorcycle. Well, I've been thinking that too, and I've been doing a little bit of research, so if you stick around and stay tuned, I'll tell you what I found out. So first then, just a little bit about how we measure dangerousness. Now, a university boffin back in the 1970s called Michael Howard did some work on this, and he came up with the concept of the micromort. Now, a micromort is a unit of risk which is defined as a 1 in a million chance of dying through doing any particular activity. So that's how we can compare riskiness of various day-to-day activities. Now, the average human in the UK has, you can think of them having a bucket of 800,000 micromorts that they can use up in a year. This is worked out based on, in the UK, it costs you, in quotes, 24 micromorts a day just to live. So by the time you get to about 82, that's when you run out and you die. So there is some argument actually to be said that it makes sense to do more risky things as you get older. But anyway, that's another discussion. Anyway, 800,000 micromorts is what you get in your bucket, if you like. And in an average year, just by living, you use up 8,800 of those micromorts. Now, the beauty of this, as I say, is it means it gives you a means to actually compare various activities. And what I've done at virtually no expense is come up with this chart. Now, this is based on figures from the UK Department of Transport, and it shows you how different modes of transport compare. Hope you can see this okay. So first of all, so the mode of travel over here on the left, how many micromorts per 1,000 miles you use, and then or how many miles per micromort that equates to. So it's just a way of comparing different modes of transport, and there are all sorts of other things you can compare in this way. So flying basically uses no micromorts per 1,000 miles, and in other words, you get loads of miles per micromort. So it's virtually as safe as anything can be flying, in a jet that is, okay. Riding on a train, you use about half a micromort per 1,000 miles if you do that, or in other words, you can do 2,000 miles before you've used a micromort up. In a car, it's about 4.3 micromorts per 1,000 miles, or 233 miles per micromort. And then we come on to the interesting stuff for us. As a pedestrian, actually, it's 71 micromorts per mile, or 14 miles per micromort as a pedestrian. So that sounds quite dangerous compared to these other activities. And then down at the bottom, the activity we're interested in, motorcycling, is actually 179 micromorts per 1,000 miles, or 5.6 miles per micromort. So in other words, if you ride 5.6 miles on your bike, you've used up one of your micromorts. Now, given you get, what did I say, 24 micromorts per day, you can see that if you ride 24 times 5.6, well, about 130 miles a day, you've doubled your risk of dying in any given day. So that sounds quite bad, I guess, but you need to have a bit of perspective on it. So I guess our sort of first bit of perspective on it is to, what is this chart telling us? Well, to me, what it's saying is riding a motorcycle is about 44 times more dangerous than driving in a car. So 179 divided by 4.3. Yeah, whatever way you look at it, yeah, biking is quite dangerous. Okay, so what can we do about it? Okay, so one of the things we can do about it is to try and reduce the risk ourselves and be aware of what the things that can get us harmed when we're out on the bike. So I managed to find the top 10 things that end up causing accidents for motorcyclists, and they're these. Number one, oncoming traffic. Sounds kind of obvious, doesn't it? But, you know, overtaking in a risky spot, or somebody not quite paying attention in the other lane, and oncoming traffic can get you, so bear that in mind. Number two, cars waiting to turn, particularly if you're overtaking maybe just on the right of a car, if you're driving on the left, and there's a gap and there's a car wanting to turn onto his right. Sometimes it's hard to see that gap, he may not see you. You've got to be aware of that. So always think about junctions. Cars waiting to turn is a real threat to motorcyclists. Number three, panic stops. And in this case, it means the car in front of you. If you're, again, not paying attention, if you haven't got sufficient gap, car brakes suddenly in front of you, in the back you go. It's not as easy to stop a bike as it is a car because you've got far less grip. So that's number three on the list. Number four, gravel on the road. You're going around a corner, you hit a patch of gravel that you didn't realise was there, you haven't got leaning ABS or any clever traction control, or even if you have, physics can take over, the bike slides and out you go and you have an accident. Number five, too much speed through a corner. Now this is something that you learn as you get more experience on a bike, but one that particularly impacts beginners. If you go into a corner too fast, you can end up going wide, you can end up coming off the bike, or indeed hitting oncoming traffic. Make sure you go into a corner slow until you understand how your bike reacts. Next one, number 6 on the list, opening car doors. And again, this applies really when you're filtering in traffic or going past parked cars. Not everybody has a good look in their mirror for bikes or is thinking about bikes as they open the door. So bang, you hit the door and you do yourself some damage or worse. Number 7, cars changing lane. Again, in an overtaking scenario on a motorway or a highway, or indeed if you're filtering, you just come to a queuing cars have just started to queue, they start to jockey for position, a car changes lane, doesn't look to see you, smack, you're off the bike. Number 8, other drivers behind you. Again, this is one that isn't necessarily logical, but when you think about it, and the stats show that this does happen a lot. This is if you brake suddenly, the car behind isn't paying attention, and they go slap straight into the back of you, and that's always a bad ending for the motorcyclist. Number 9, inclement weather. So, you know, riding when it's raining or icy in particular. Maybe if it's raining you can't see, your visor's fogged up, or you're going too fast, you try to stop on some ice, it's going to end badly. And number 10, drinking and riding, and of course drugs as well. So if you're riding under the influence of anything, that of course increases your danger. So have those things in mind if you can. Those are the things that could get you. Try and avoid them. So is riding a certain type of bike more dangerous than riding another? Now, I've had a good look at this, and I can't actually find any research on this comparing, say, touring bikes to sports bikes. But empirically...
On the sports bike, safety is uppermost in my mind, even more than on other bikes. These things are just built for speed. And I love speed and acceleration, but, you know, it has a place. And that place really is on the racetrack. I'd be lying if I said I always rode it slowly on the road, but I like to think that I'm a sensible rider, and I do try to keep that in mind. Because these things are built for speed, they don't do slow very well, and they just encourage you to go fast. So I do think that sports bikes are probably more dangerous than other bikes, just because they encourage you to ride more like a maniac. So I'll keep that in my mind and try and temper that whenever I'm out on the Panigale. Whereas on a bike like the big GS, I'm sitting upright, I'm in a cruisy mood, I'm generally riding slower. The bike is more conducive to relaxing riding. I feel these sort of bikes are a bit safer. But of course, just because I'm sitting upright and I'm conspicuous and I feel cocooned in its lovely weather protection, doesn't mean I'm any safer really. And it's a false sense of security, I think, that you get on these. If I get hit by a car, I can still be hugely damaged, and these machines are just capable of doing silly speeds, or certainly more than legal road speeds, than a sports bike.
So as I said earlier on in the video, you need to get a bit of perspective on this. There's no doubt that biking is dangerous, but how does it compare to some other things that may well kill you too, that perhaps you don't think of as dangerous? Well, I've done a bit of research on this. These are some figures from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, so that's a US body, so these apply to the US, but there's no reason to think that similar ratios don't apply elsewhere in the civilised world. So in 2015, according to the NHTSA, 4,976 people died in motorcycle crashes, and 4,594 in the year after. So about 5,000 people a year in the US die in motorcycle crashes. So how does that compare to some other everyday things that you know, maybe we don't think are as dangerous? Well, bear in mind, 5,000 people in the US killed by bikes. Alcohol in the US kills 25,600 people a year. 5 times as many people die of alcohol than motorcycle crashes. Smoking, 440,000 people in the US are killed per year as a result of smoking related. 440,000 compared to 5,000 bikers. Even the flu costs the US population 48,000 people per year catching the flu. Texting, again the same body, the NHTSA, reckons that 24% of crashes involve drivers talking or texting on cell phones, so that's 7,247 deaths in 2010 alone, just caused by texting. Okay, so that's all well and good, and of course you can make statistics say whatever you like, because of course clearly there are more people that are alive that can say catch the flu than actually ride motorcycles, so you have to take all these with a bit of a pinch of salt. Okay, there's no doubt then from the research that I've done over the last couple of days that riding a motorcycle is a risky and dangerous business, but you have to contrast that against the fun that you have out of it and the sort of life that you want to lead. Everything has risk and danger associated with it. If you didn't take any risks, you'd have a very boring life indeed. So what I would say is, if you feel inclined to ride a motorcycle, do so. It's great fun, but do be aware of the risks. You know, make sure you wear the right kit all the time. Don't ride too fast. Don't go out in bad weather, and just enjoy yourself. But have safety uppermost in your mind all the time when you ride. If you want to look up some more information, there is loads of stuff on the internet. In particular, there are about 3 university reports that have gone in depth into the dangers involved in motorcycling. I'll put some links down below, but in particular there's the Hurt report, the Mays report, and something called the Olsen report, which is quite controversial because it talks about high-vis clothing and concludes that maybe it doesn't make much difference. But anyway, that's for you to look at another time. Okay, look forward to speaking to you next time. Until then, this has been the Missenden Fly. Cheerio.